Hey, Facebook, be with you in a second. All right, and we have 8 seconds. Bear with me, I got to turn this monitor off. Well, good Monday morning, 2 minutes past 10 o'clock. We're already up to 64 degrees. And this morning on KRIM's Community Spotlight, we're going to be talking about the Arizona Public Service Company. And with us, Division Manager Neil Traver with us, and also their Community Affairs Manager, Janet Dean. And first of all, thanks to both of you for coming down and being with us today. We appreciate you being here.
Well, yeah, thank you very much. It's exciting to be here, and we absolutely love the opportunity to come and share with the community some of the things we have going on.
Well, I tell you, it's exciting from my perspective, too, because APS has been doing a lot of interesting stuff lately, and we had a chance to visit for just a little bit before the show this morning, and there were some things going on that I wasn't aware of that I think are pretty darn exciting. And I think just because I know we have a lot to try and bust through here in 30 minutes, I'll just dive right in. One of the things that APS is focused on is clean energy. What exactly are we talking about when it comes to clean energy?
Yeah, this is actually really exciting for us. As a nation and as a world, I think you can see that where we're going is we want to be more environmentally friendly.
Right.
And so APS, at the beginning of January of 2020, made an announcement that we really want to go to 100% clean. That's our energy commitment. So we've got a couple of goals. So the objective is to be 100% clean by 2050. We're already 50% clean because of Palo Verde Nuclear Generating Station, the nation's best performing nuclear power plant. One of the milestones that we have set for ourselves along our journey to 100% clean is to hit 65% clean energy by 2030, with 45% of that coming from renewable energy. Related to our clean energy commitment is the national movement toward electric vehicles and electric vehicle adoption. And we have a special program that we can talk to related to electric vehicles and some of the programs that we have there at a later topic, or if we have more time today, we can talk through that as well.
That kind of makes sense, because it looks like that's kind of the direction things are headed, and so obviously APS has got to get out there in front of the curve on that and be ready for it.
Well, absolutely, yes. We do want to be part. We want to be part of that solution. Electric vehicles, our customers are asking for them. You know, we've got major car manufacturers saying nothing but electric by a certain date. And to really make that work, there's got to be good electrical vehicle charging infrastructure spread across the routes that customers want to travel,
right,
or residents want to travel. And so that's where we are putting some time and energy right now, is trying to help expand that network. So we have our own program, which we call Take Charge. And that allows businesses, nonprofits to actually apply to APS, and we'll come in and we'll put in an APS owned and maintained charging station for the customer. And there's several different levels of charging stations our customers can choose. They can choose kind of a dumb charging station, and I really dislike that word, but it just means it's not a networked charging station. So they can come put that in at APS cost. APS then maintains it, and the customer just pays for the electricity that's used. And it can be for their customers. It can be for fleets if they've got their own vehicles that are part of their business. And then there's a couple of different chargers beyond that the customer would pay a little delta on, and those are really the networked chargers, where they have the ability for whoever's using it to have to put in a credit card to pay for the energy that they're consuming.
Right.
But we want to just make sure that those get spread across the state, and across our service territory, so that EV adoption in Arizona can keep continuing. So that's one program. That's our own program. Then we're also partnering with a group called Electrify America that is focused on trying to get fast charging stations spread across major transportation routes. And there's good infrastructure along the major highways, but there's not into our more rural Arizona. So we partnered with them this year to put in 5 charging stations in rural Arizona, and Payson is one of the communities that was chosen. So they're in the process of putting one in one of the shopping centers here in town. And it's going to be available for visitors traveling to the area, traveling through the area, but hopefully getting people to stop and, if they're not stopping at a gas station, they're stopping at their electric vehicle charging station and spending some time.
Well, that makes sense. I kind of like that. Now, one of the other things, aside from clean energy, that's although I'm sure that's a huge topic in and of itself for APS, but you have some other projects going on up here right now that I didn't realize the scope of until we had a chance to speak before the show today. Where, I mean, you're helicoptering in more power poles, and there's a lot of infrastructure improvement that's going on.
Yeah, we have a lot of really neat things that are going on around the region, primarily focused on reliability. For our customers here in and around the Rim country, it's really important for us to make sure that we're building out the infrastructure needed to improve our reliability, to make sure that the power's on when our customers need it. So we've got a couple of major projects that are going on. One of them internally we call it our Payson to Pine rebuild. So the project, we have a power line that runs from Payson. It goes up and connects to Pine Strawberry region. There are those communities there. And that power line, it's about 180 poles that we're replacing and putting on a larger wire onto those power lines. And the whole objective of that project is to improve reliability to both communities, the northern part of Payson as well as Pine and Strawberry. When we're done with that project, and the objective is to be done before year end this year, 2021, is that if I were to have an unplanned outage, for example in Pine or Strawberry, I could energize that line in between those two communities and pick up power in Pine or Strawberry, or vice versa. If I have an unplanned outage in the northern part of Payson, I can energize it from the Pine and Strawberry side back down and pick up the customers that are out of power. Is it a perfect system? No, because if I, so to speak, have an outage at the end of a street in one little area, that line wouldn't necessarily pick up that power there, but it'll actually allow me to pick up the bulk of those power outages. So that's one of the projects that I have going on.
That's huge.
Yeah, and that one's right along the highway. I'm sure a lot of the residents here have seen it.
Yeah, you've done some improvements to that trail that goes right along the power poles there, and it looks like that in and of itself had to be kind of an interesting, semi-precarious thing to accomplish at some places, or just looking at it from the highway.
Yeah, it was actually a lot of fun to have our engineering folks sit down and figure out the best way to build that out in a safe and reliable manner for us.
Right.
We've got a lot of holes dug. We had a lot of helicopter work that happened about a month and a half ago, where we set a significant number of those poles. And then here again in 2 weeks, we'll be doing the same thing, where we're helicoptering in quite a few poles and setting those poles in pre-drilled holes, and then we'll be stringing wire here very soon. And again, hopefully that line will be energized and up and running before the end of the year. Pretty exciting project for us.
And as Community Affairs Manager, Janet, I'm sure when all of a sudden you see helicopters bringing in poles and stuff like that, the phones might start to light up at APS just a little bit.
They do. Absolutely. Yes, we do want our customers to know what's happening. We want the entire community, because so many people travel that road and it's such a visible project. So I'll be doing a lot of social media outreach, sending you something once we have the specifics.
Excellent.
Just trying to get the word out. I know when we set poles previously, it does come with some road restrictions, because they just can't safely fly those poles across the road when there's vehicles. So we will be stopping traffic for short periods. And I know that combined with the other work going along on 87, a little bit further north from ADOT, could cause some concerns, but our part's going to be short-lived, in just a couple of days of short intermittent stops.
Well, and if you do have to be stuck there briefly, while this is going on, at least there'll be something entertaining to watch.
Exactly. We're going to give you some free entertainment, watching your power become more reliable.
Well, one of the things too, when we talk about APS trying to increase their reliability, I've noticed down in Tonto Basin versus just a couple of years ago that the overall infrastructure there seems to be much more reliable. There's been a lot less outages this last year than maybe a couple of years ago.
Well, thank you very much. It's exciting to hear that. And yes, we focused a lot of attention specifically on the line that goes down from the Deer Creek substation area. Mm-hmm. That's where the power is delivered from primarily. Right. We focused a lot of energy and spent a lot of time building out and improving that infrastructure down to the Tonto Basin community specifically. So that's been a lot of work. We've done a lot of wire work, a lot of pole work, cross-arm work in that region, and I think you can see the reliability has definitely improved on the unplanned outage side. It's pretty exciting for us.
Well, it's an area that I know just since the funding for the bridge was announced, and they're supposed to start turning dirt now in the 1st of March, I believe was the last update that I had. But since that was announced, I know there was a couple of different 40-acre parcels back there that have been subdivided, and it seems like those have been selling like hotcakes. So things are starting to change down there a little bit.
Yeah, not just there, but I would say in the entire RIM country is growing significantly.
Right.
And as part of APS, it's our responsibility to make sure that all the customers in the entire region are taken well care of, have the reliability that they deserve, and make sure that we build our infrastructure out in a safe manner as well. So we have a couple of other significant projects that I'd like to talk about briefly.
Sure.
So one of the things that we're building out currently is what we call a microgrid. And what this is a self-contained generator. They're diesel generators that basically come in a pack that look like shipping containers or Connex boxes.
Right.
And we're building those out right on the edge of Young. And the reason we're doing that right on the edge of Young is because Young is fed by one line, okay, that comes from Payson into the Young community. And it's 30 miles of forest. Our forest is absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
We love it a lot. Unfortunately, in a big storm or in the winter time, sometimes those trees, unfortunately, will come down and cut through that line.
Right.
And when that line gets cut, Young is out of power until we can get our crews back out. And our crews are very, very committed and very dedicated to this community. They come out and rain, snow, shine, whatever the weather may be, they're out there trudging through the forest trying to get that power back up and running as fast as possible. But what the microgrid is going to allow us to do is if we have an outage in that line between Payson down to Young, that microgrid will automatically kick back on and pick the community back up and put the power on, and it has sufficient capacity to put that power back on. So right now we're trying to work through getting that microgrid up and running here in the very near future. In the next couple of months is our goal. And then next year in the fall, we plan on building the same type of infrastructure and microgrid out for Forest Lakes. And we're gonna put one right there next to the Forest Lakes community. Because the same power line that takes the power from Payson to Young takes that power from Payson up to Forest Lakes, and it's the same conversation. If we were to have a power line go down, we can island, what we call island, that community.
So it's, if nothing else, some really good redundancy, it sounds like.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a really exciting project for us. Microgrids are an up and coming thing for the power industry. They've been proven to be safe and very effective, and it's a very exciting prospect for us to be able to put even more of these out in the future.
Very interesting. Now, one of the other things, you mentioned that you deal a lot with, and I think anyone that's lived around RIM country for any length of time knows about when we get the snow on the trees and the branches fall on the lines and different problems, and that's the wintertime problem. But one of the other unusual summertime problems here are wildfires, and I know that again down in Town Basin, looking at the aftermath of the bushfire here a couple of years ago. I mean that had some some impacts on infrastructure down there as far as poles and things like that. So that's really got to be an annual, let's just say exercise. That'd probably be a good word to use on the radio. But it's got to be an interesting challenge for you every year, I would assume. Yes,
it is a significant challenge for us. It's something we've definitely taken to heart, and it's become a very, very prime focus for the company. Safety is our number one priority, above and beyond anything else. And safety is a direct connection to our wildfire or wildfire mitigation efforts. So what we have is we have a wildfire mitigation team that actually works full-time all year long for the company. And this team works together with Forest Service, with fire organizations, and comes up with infrastructure and plans to be able to say, here's what we can do at APS to harden our system, make it better, and prevent the opportunity for a spark to happen during high fire risk times. So some of the things that we've done over the past few years, and we're improving on every year, we've created a program called Integrated Vegetation Management System. So what this plan does is it allows us to go out and both mechanically and with chemical treat the plants that are in and around our infrastructure. So we go out and if you go along the very large transmission lines and you drive underneath those, you see that there's a wide swath that's been clear cut all around that. That's part of this fire mitigation effort. So if there were to have something happen, that line, if a line were to cause a spark, or a piece of equipment were to cause a spark, it falls into bare dirt instead of falling into a treat area.
Just makes sense. And especially with wildfires, spreading, embers ahead of the fire plume, sometimes a couple miles. Obviously, getting that stuff done proactively makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, and those very large transmission rights of way is what we call them, that are large swaths that are clear cut. Those actually a lot of times provide fire break for the fires that are going on. So that's a proactive measure that we've taken. Another one we have is called defensible space around poles. And what that is where we go around any pole that's in the forested areas that has a piece of equipment on it. At the base of that pole, we go for 10 feet out and clear cut. And we basically make that to bare dirt, so that if there were to happen to have something happen and a spark falls on bare dirt, we don't have an ignition source.
Makes sense.
We do line safety patrols every year in the spring before fire season starts. We put our guys in the trucks. They go drive them. They hike them. They use drones, every technology that we can, to inspect all the power lines that are out in the system that have a potential to be in a high fire risk area. It's thousands of miles, and we do this every spring. We come together with a list of items that, hey, this particular pole, let's go and do a little extra work on it and make sure it's even stronger than it currently is. And that's another big project that we do every single year. And then the last thing that's impactful, and we've been talking about reliability. We've been talking about the importance for us to make sure that our system is both safe and reliable. Well, fire mitigation, one of the programs that we have is an operational protocol. What this operational protocol is during higher fire risk times, if the power goes out, we will leave the power off until we can literally put someone boots on the ground in the field and inspect that entire line to make sure that we don't have a tree sitting on the line, or wires caught up on a branch, or something else that has the potential to start a spark or start a fire. We're going to inspect that entire thing, make sure that it's in good repair, and repair it before we try and re-energize. That's something that can actually impact our reliability for our customers. It can extend outages, but everyone we've shared this message with and all the communities that we've talked to about this, they're ecstatic. They said, yes, this is the right answer. We'll deal with a half an hour extra in a power outage.
Right.
Leave our forest here. We love our forest.
Yeah.
So there's a reason we live here.
Exactly.
We love it here. We love the forests, and so it's been received very well.
And I would think, Janet, one of the things too I've noticed with some of the information releases from APS in the past during fire season is that when there is an outage as a result of a wildfire or something, those lines, again, they have to all be looked at before you can re-energize the line. So that that's another one of these things that takes up some of the time when it comes to getting things back online. Am I correct in that assumption?
You are correct. It does, as Neil said, it can extend an outage for our customers. So what we're trying to do is just make sure our customers know that's what's happening. So we've got a very robust communication plan now. So before fire season really kicks in, we're sending something to our customers who live in those areas. And last year it was over 100,000 customers received some information from us before fire season started, and that's even hard to say because it seems like fire season goes forever now. never really ends. But we did send something to customers either via email, via postcard, to let them know that, hey, we care about your community, we care about your safety. We're out there working to mitigate the inherent risk that can come with our electrical infrastructure, and we're doing it because we do care. But it might mean a longer outage for you. And then we're working through social media, through meeting with as many community groups as we can. This is a constant message that Neil and I are giving, and the rest of our team, anytime we're speaking in front of people or with people in our division.
But it's good for people to know, there's a lot of variables that come to play when it comes to, trying to manage these incidents from APS's perspective, and you've got to keep all your I's dotted and T's crossed, and I think it's good for people to know that. Now, there was one other thing that we talked about before the show today, Neil, that I thought was pretty darn interesting because I think most folks up here realize the need. I didn't realize APS was behind this, and I find that really encouraging. But you're also getting involved in broadband.
Yes, we are. So, yeah, I'd love to talk about it. Thanks for bringing the topic up. Over the past several years, I've been very much so involved in economic development all around RIM country, and been a part of many conversations. And one thing that continuously rises to the top of the conversation for economic development for the region is we need a better fiber connection and better reliability. So capacity, number one, and number two, it needs to be reliable. And in APS, in our large equipment, so our substations, our switch yards, our power plants, we have to have fiber lines connecting each one of those so that the grid can operate as a true electrical grid. So if something happens in one part of the state, the fiber line that's between those instantaneously knows, hey, power needs to be diverted from point A to point B, so to speak. So I have fiber connection between all of my major points. I have major points throughout all of northern Arizona. So the conversation became, hey, we're building a new fiber line through a lot of our major infrastructure throughout northern Arizona. While we're doing this, can we increase the capacity while we're building this out already anyway, and allow our residential or our small rural communities, residential customers, whoever it may be, to be able to connect to that fiber and utilize that for economic development purposes? And the conversation ultimately came back like, absolutely. We're going to be building it out anyways. The build out is the expensive part. Expanding the capacity doesn't really add a whole lot to the cost of the project. So what we're doing is we're building out through a loop through northern Arizona. The loop goes from Phoenix up through Prescott, from Prescott to Flagstaff, from Flagstaff over to the Cholla power plant in Joseph City, and then from Joseph City back down through Payson and then back down to Phoenix again.
Wow.
So it's a big ring. The fiber line that we're building is 433 strands of fiber, which when we talk to IT folks, I've had people say, well, what does that really even mean? So to put it in terms that most people can understand is the conversation basically comes down to the fiber that we're building out will be enough for everything in northern Arizona to be able to backhaul to Phoenix where the internet truly lives for the next 50 years at least.
Wow.
So it's a significant build out. What I would like for everybody to understand is I'm building out what I call the superhighway, or that fiber line. And then I don't build out the infrastructure from my fiber line out to a residential individual or a customer, so to speak, the end user. That really has to come from your telecom providers, whoever those telecom providers may be in the region. So I'll build out that major interstate, they'll tap in to have the backhaul back to Phoenix, and then they will bring that and build that out, that what we call the last mile, to the residential users, to the small businesses, et cetera, in the community. But the capacity and the reliability will now be here. So if the fiber gets cut at any location, which we know here in RIM country, that has happened, and when it does happen, we lose radio, we lose emergency, we lose cell phone. Now if that gets cut, it'll automatically backfeed another direction and we'll be right back up and running.
Again, redundancy.
A redundancy line
Absolutely.
and a capacity.
And Janet, one of the things too, along with this, is I know it has been talked about for a number of years here that call centers and businesses like that oftentimes really want to get out of the metro areas and would like the quality of life that you can have here in Payson, but we just haven't had the infrastructure to be able to attract that. So this really could be a huge step forward for economic development for RIM country as far as getting some more of those higher paying jobs and things like that in here.
You're right. It could be a huge step forward. We know that businesses, when they want to evaluate where to create a business or to move their operations, they are looking at the infrastructure, and they're looking at water, they're looking at electricity, they're looking at natural gas perhaps. But one of the key determining factors for a lot of businesses is what kind of internet, what kind of broadband capacity does the community have. And so many of the smaller rural communities that we work in, that's been a huge, just a barrier to them being able to attract and for economic development purposes. So we're excited that we're bringing this resource to the region while we we serve, while we work towards making sure our own connectivity is good. Another thing it does, and I think COVID has showed us this, is so many people can now work from home.
Yeah.
And there's so many small communities that are saying we're seeing an influx of residents because they can work remotely and they want to work remotely. And when they have that ability, they want to go somewhere nice.
And
to
a lot of
work
businesses are
remotely.
realizing that, hey, we don't have to have all of this infrastructure where our people have to come to a place every day. They can just work from home and we can save some bucks in the process. So kind of a win-win all the way around.
Exactly. So, we started this thinking it's going to be a big, really good for companies looking to relocate.
Mm-hmm.
But what we're hearing is it's going to be good for the individuals looking to relocate too. Because as Neil said, the telecom companies, one of the barriers for them, I think, in the past has been the cost of the extensive infrastructure to get that capacity to the region. And now they don't have that on their plate. They just have to think about how to get it to the customer.
And Neil, I know what you've mentioned too, as it pertains to that with the telecom providers, kind of working in concert with you on this.
Mm-hmm.
I know the one guy that does all of the phone installs stuff down in Tonto Basin was just telling me here a couple weeks ago when I talked to him that within the next year or 2 years, something like that, that the fiber optics will be such that they'll be able to bring some robust bandwidth even down into places like Tonto Basin where people just recently learned how to use the word broadband in a complete sentence. And I'm saying that because I live there. This is a game changer for a lot of these communities in some significant ways.
Yeah, absolutely. And timing wise, I want to make sure that everyone understands the timing of this project. We're actually built out on a large significant piece of this already. So the piece that goes from Phoenix to Prescott and then from Prescott to Flagstaff is already built, it's in service and lit up. The piece that goes from Phoenix to Payson to the Cholla power plant near Joseph City, we're in the process of building out and we're hoping to have lit up and useful next year. We're working with the Forest Service, who's been great to work with.
That's a whole bunch of miles to be able to get it done in a year. That's astounding.
Yeah, we're building it in our right of way already, so we already have the right of way there. We just need to set the poles and run the wire. And we're working on procurement contracts already to get the fiber and the poles here and available. As soon as we've got our permitting done, we've got contractors already ready to go and start building this out. So it's exciting. So again, our hope is that the Payson region will be up and running and lit up with that fiber line sometime by the fall of next year. Again, permitting would be the big driver there, but we're excited about this. This is going to be a big change for the community.
It sounds like a major step in the right direction. Sadly, we're out of time, but definitely appreciate the update. We look forward to having you back in here soon and hear some more, because you've got no small number of things going on right now.
Well, thank you very much. It's been just a great time to spend some time and update the community.
I appreciate you both being here.
Thanks, Randy.
Again, we've been talking with Janet Dean, the Community Affairs. Excuse me. I think it's called Allergies from Hell. Anyway, Community Affair Manager from APS, Janet Dean, also the Division Manager, Neil Traber, with us this morning. We appreciate them being with us, and we appreciate you being with us too. We're going to get you back to more of your favorite country. Let's see, we got Johnny Lang coming up, hello, Jason Mraz, and a whole bunch more. But first, a quick look at RIM Country weather.
Now with this morning's KRIM weather forecast.
Just like that.